The sky burned red over Helios 9 as alien ships descended through the atmosphere. Kate Franklin watched from the command center window, her face grim in the emergency lighting. The attack had come without warning 3 hours ago. Now half the colony was in ruins. "How many ships?" she asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Eric Barnes looked up from his console. 19 confirmed, ma'am. They're deploying ground forces around the eastern perimeter. Kate nodded and turned to the room full of scared faces. These people, engineers, farmers, teachers, and scientists, had come to Helios 9, seeking a peaceful life on a new world. None of them had expected war. "We need to send the distress signal now," she said, "while we still can." Paul Martinez, the colony's chief engineer, shook his head. The main communication array was hit in the first wave. "We're running on backup systems." "How long will they last?" Kate asked. "Minutes, maybe less." Kate moved quickly to the central console. Her fingers flew across the controls as she recorded the message that might be her only hope. "This is Colony Administrator Kate Franklin of Helios 9. We are under attack by an unknown alien force. Civilian casualties are high. We have limited defenses. Request immediate military assistance. I repeat, Helios 9 is under attack." The building shook as another explosion hit nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They're targeting the command center," Olivia Donovan called out. The security chief had blood running down one side of her face, but her hand was steady on her weapon. "We need to evacuate now." Kate finished the transmission and pressed send. The system hummed as it pushed the distress call toward the nearest relay station. If they were lucky, the message would reach Earth in just under a week. "Message sent," she said. "Let's move." They had barely reached the door when it burst open. 3 tall, armored figures stood in the doorway. Their scaled skin gleamed purple-black in the emergency lights. Their faces were hidden behind breathing masks with glowing yellow eyes. "Humans," the middle one said, the translation device on its chest turning alien sounds into flat English. "Your colony is now under the control of the Crothal Empire. Surrender or die." Olivia raised her weapon, but Kate put a hand on her arm. "We're civilians," Kate said. "We surrender." The aliens seemed to laugh, the sound like rocks grinding together. "Wise choice. Your species has a reputation for weakness. Take us to your remaining leaders." As they were marched outside, Kate got her first full view of the devastation. Fires burned throughout the colony. Ships larger than anything built by humans hovered overhead. Alien soldiers rounded up frightened colonists into groups. The largest ship descended slowly, landing in what had been the colony's central plaza. A ramp extended and more aliens emerged. The one in front wore elaborate armor and carried no visible weapons. The soldiers around Kate immediately straightened. "Supreme Warlord Exerzoth," one of them announced. The warlord approached Kate directly, towering over her. "You are the leader of this pathetic outpost." "I am," Kate replied, meeting the alien's gaze. "Did you call for help before we destroyed your communications?" Hexer asked, amusement in his voice. Kate said nothing, but her expression gave away the answer. The warlord laughed. "Excellent. It pleases me that you still hope." He gestured widely at the destruction around them. "Let me educate you, human. Your Earth is 3 months of travel from here, even for your fastest ships. We have studied your kind. Your nations are divided. Your military is scattered across too many worlds." He leaned closer to Kate's face. "No one is coming to save you. By the time your message even reaches your homeworld, there will be nothing left of this colony but ashes and memories." Behind the warlord, Kate saw Paul and Olivia exchange determined glances. She kept her face neutral, giving nothing away. "We'll see," she said quietly. The distress signal from Helios 9 reached Earth 6 days later. At United Earth Defense Command Headquarters in Geneva, the message played on the main screen of the crisis room. The faces around the table grew darker with each word from Kate Franklin. Admiral Daniel Russell stood at the head of the table, his weathered face showing no emotion. But his fingers pressed hard against the polished surface as the message ended with static. "Play it again," he ordered. After the second viewing, he looked around the room. "Opinions?" Michelle Grant, head of intelligence, stood up. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, her expression grim. "Sir, this matches 3 other attacks in the past month. We believe the Krathful are testing our response capabilities." She tapped her tablet, and new images appeared on the main screen. Other colonies reduced to ruins. They hit New Montana first, then Archer's World, then New Singapore. Each time, they'd grown bolder. Helios 9 is the largest colony they've targeted so far, and our response time has been too slow for all of them, Admiral Russell said. Michelle nodded. By the time our ships arrived, there was little left to save. Commander Alan Peterson cleared his throat. He was younger than most others in the room, but his combat record had earned him respect. The Krathful are strategic. They're attacking colonies that are far from each other and far from Earth. They're counting on our ships being spread too thin. "They're right," someone muttered. Admiral Russell straightened. Perhaps they were right yesterday. Today, things change. He pressed a button on the table. "I'm calling for an emergency session of the United Earth Council. All of you, prepare your departments for full mobilization." 3 hours later, the council chamber was filled. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in rising tiers around the central podium. The room buzzed with worried conversation. Admiral Russell stood before them and played Kate Franklin's message. The room fell silent. "The Krathful believe we won't respond in time," he said, his voice filling the chamber. "They believe we are divided and weak. They believe we will abandon our people." He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of key representatives. "I am proposing we activate the Emergency Defense Protocol. For the first time in our history." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The protocol had been created after the Mars colony crisis, but had never been used. It would put all Earth's military forces under unified command and authorize the use of weapons systems that had been kept secret even from most of Earth's allies. "Admiral," the representative from Brazil stood, "what you're suggesting would leave Earth itself vulnerable." "If we do nothing," Russell replied, "we show every hostile species in the galaxy that humans can be picked off one by one. Today Helios 9. Tomorrow it could be your mining stations in the Kuiper Belt." The chamber erupted in debate. After an hour, the council president called for a vote. The result was unexpected. Unanimous approval. Admiral Russell wasted no time. He appointed Commander Peterson to lead the response fleet and gave him broad authority to requisition ships and personnel. "How many ships can we assemble in 24 hours?" Russell asked. Peterson consulted with his staff. "With the protocol activated, every nation is contributing. We can have 217 combat-ready vessels by tomorrow. More will join as we travel." "It won't be enough," Michelle Grant said. Admiral Russell turned to her. "We're not just sending what we have, Commander Grant. We're sending everything." He brought up a classified file on his tablet. "Project Thunderbolt is now operational, and the prototype ships from the Mars defensive line will join the fleet." Michelle's eyes widened. "Sir, those are untested in actual combat." "Then this will be their test," Russell said. "The Krathful believe we won't come. They're about to learn how wrong they are." In orbit above Earth, ships began to gather. More arrived each hour: sleek destroyers, massive carriers, agile fighters. The greatest armada humanity had ever assembled was taking shape among the stars. 3 months passed on Helios 9 under Krathful rule. The once thriving colony was now a prison camp. High walls surrounded what remained of the settlement. Alien patrol ships circled overhead day and night. In a hidden basement beneath the ruins of the science building, Samantha White wiped sweat from her forehead. The colony's doctor had been working for 12 hours straight, treating 3 colonists injured during a cave-in at the mines where the Krathful forced them to work. Will they live? asked John Harris. The former Marine stood guard at the door, his makeshift weapon ready. Samantha nodded tiredly. They'll recover, but I'm running low on antibiotics. John's face hardened. We'll get more. The aliens are bringing in fresh supplies tomorrow. He didn't say how they would get those supplies. Samantha didn't ask. In 3 months, they had all learned to do things they never thought possible. John moved closer and lowered his voice. There's a meeting tonight. Tunnel 3. Kate wants everyone there. Samantha raised an eyebrow. Colony Administrator Franklin rarely called full meetings of the Resistance. It was too dangerous to have everyone in one place. When night fell, 30 colonists gathered in the narrow tunnel beneath the ruined eastern section. They came in ones and twos, using different routes to avoid detection. Kate Franklin looked thinner than before the invasion, but her eyes burned with the same determination. Beside her stood Paul Martinez and Olivia Donovan. All three had escaped during a transport accident in the first month of occupation. Thank you for coming, Kate said softly. I know the risk you're taking. She gestured to Eric Barnes, who sat huddled over a small device. The young communications specialist had dark circles under his eyes. Eric has something to share, Kate said. Eric looked up nervously. 3 days ago, I picked up a signal. It was weak, but definitely human. It was using old Earth military frequencies. The room went silent. What did it say? Someone finally asked. Just 3 words, Eric replied. Then it was gone. It said, hold. We're coming. Excited whispers filled the tunnel. Kate raised her hand for quiet. It could be a trick, Olivia warned. The Krathul catching someone's random transmission, or trying to smoke us out. I don't think so, Eric said. The signal used an authentication code. Earth military, high command level. Paul Martinez spoke up. Even if it's real, what can we do? The Krathul have planetary defenses online. Any ship that approaches will be destroyed. That's why we need to take out those defenses, John Harris said. He stepped forward, standing next to Kate. We've been watching their patterns, finding weaknesses. If someone is really coming, we need to be ready. Kate nodded. We start planning now. Our people need to be in position to move when the time comes. As the meeting continued, none of them noticed the small maintenance droid that had stopped in the ventilation shaft above them. Its camera eye blinked red in the darkness. The next morning, alarms blared across the settlement. Krathul soldiers marched through the streets, dragging colonists from their quarters. In the central plaza, Supreme Warlord Exer Zoth waited. The colonists were forced to kneel in rows before him. Humans, his voice boomed through speakers. You disappoint me. I offered you life in exchange for obedience. Yet you plot rebellion. He paced slowly in front of them. Some of you believe rescue is coming. He laughed, the sound making several colonists flinch. Let me show you the truth. A large screen lowered behind him. It showed images of Earth, peaceful and unchanged. Your homeworld continues its normal activities. No great fleet has launched. No rescue mission has been mounted. He zoomed in on orbital images showing normal shipping traffic around Earth. These images are from yesterday. Kate Franklin kept her face expressionless, though doubt flickered in her eyes. To remind you of the futility of hope, Exer Zoth said, I will now execute 10 of your people. When the next group speaks of rescue, I will execute 20. As the soldiers moved to select their victims, a small object fell from Kate's sleeve into her hand. A detonator. Under the plaza, explosives waited. Deep in space, far from the familiar light of Earth's sun, the human armada pushed through the darkness. The fleet now numbered over 500 ships, the largest gathering of human military power in history. At the center of the formation, the massive flagship Defiance led the way. On its bridge, Captain Lisa Morgan studied the navigational display showing their progress toward Helios 9. Status report, she said. Her first officer looked up from his station. All ships maintaining formation, Captain. Engine stress is within acceptable limits. Lisa nodded. The entire fleet was pushing its engines beyond normal safety margins. What should have been a 3-month journey needed to be completed in less time. And the new drive systems? She asked. Holding stable. The engineering team says we're cutting our travel time by 28%. It still wasn't fast enough. Every day they traveled, more colonists could be dying. In the tactical center 2 decks below, Ryan Cooper pored over holographic displays of craft hull ship designs and weapon systems. The military strategist had been collecting information on the alien empire for years, but much remained unknown. Their shield configuration has a weakness here, he told his team, pointing to a section near the engine outputs. If we can concentrate fire on this area, we may be able to disable rather than destroy their ships. A young officer raised her hand. Sir, why are we trying to avoid destroying them? They attacked our colony. Ryan's face was grim. Because we don't know how many of our people are being held on those ships, and because Commander Peterson wants prisoners for intelligence. He turned back to the display. We'll have one chance to get this right. The element of surprise won't last long. 6 decks below, Weapons Systems Officer William Young calibrated the newly installed Thunderbolt system. The weapon had never been used in actual combat, and the engineers who designed it had never intended it to be deployed so soon. Power flow is unstable, William muttered as he adjusted settings. We need to shunt more coolant to the forward emitters. A technician working nearby looked concerned. If we do that, we risk overloading the secondary systems. Better than having the primary weapon fail when we need it most, William replied. He made the adjustment and watched as the diagnostic readings slowly shifted from red to yellow. It'll hold. It has to. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out as the crew prepared for battle. In the medical bay, doctors stockpiled supplies for expected casualties. In the hangar deck, fighter pilots ran combat drills. In engineering, teams worked around the clock to keep the massive engines functioning beyond their design limits. In her private quarters, Lisa Morgan recorded a message to her family back on Earth. Many officers were doing the same. They all knew the risk they were taking. We're making good time, she said to the camera. The fleet is holding together well. Better than expected, really. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. I don't know what we'll find when we reach Helios 9. The Krathul aren't known for their mercy. But I promise you this, we won't let them think they can attack humans without consequences. She ended the recording and sat quietly for a moment. Then her comm unit beeped. Captain to the bridge. We have a situation. Lisa hurried through the corridors. On the bridge, her officers stood around the main display. What is it? She asked. We've detected a ship ahead of us, her first officer said. Krathul design. Scout class. Lisa's heart sank. They've seen us. We don't think so. They're not on an intercept course. But if they change direction even slightly, they'll detect our energy signatures. Lisa studied the tactical display. If they report back to their fleet, we lose the element of surprise. Your orders, Captain. She didn't hesitate. Deploy the Peregrine. Stealth approach. I want that scout disabled before it can transmit any warning. Throughout the fleet, the order went out. On the small stealth ship Peregrine, pilot Nancy Clark received her mission brief. Ready to launch, she reported. Target acquired. The clock was ticking. The journey continued. The Peregrine moved silently through space, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible against the darkness. Inside the small craft, Nancy Clark guided the ship toward the Krathul scout with steady hands. Distance to target, 20,000 kilometers and closing, she said to herself, a habit from her training days. The scout ship followed its patrol route, unaware of the danger approaching. Nancy checked her weapon systems. The Peregrine carried no destructive weapons, only a specialized pulse device designed to disable enemy systems without destroying the ship. Target locked. Preparing to fire in 3, 2, 1. The pulse shot out, invisible to the naked eye. It hit the scout ship directly in its command center. The alien vessel's lights flickered and went dark. Moments later, emergency power came on, but the ship's main engines and communications remained offline. Target neutralized, Nancy reported back to the Defiance. Moving to Phase 2. Instead of returning to the fleet, the Peregrine continued toward Helios 9 at maximum speed. Captain Morgan had given Nancy a second, more crucial mission: make first contact with any surviving colonists. 2 days later, the Peregrine entered the Helios system, staying far from the usual travel lanes. Nancy used the planet's moon as cover, keeping the ship hidden from craft hull orbital patrols. When darkness fell on the colony, Nancy landed the Peregrine in a forested area 5 miles from the settlement. She exited wearing a combat suit with full stealth capabilities. Moving carefully through the trees, she approached the outer wall of the colony. Full guards patrolled the top, their weapons ready. Nancy studied their patterns, noting when their attention wavered. 30 minutes later, she slipped over the wall between guard rotations and dropped into the shadows of the ruined buildings. The colony looked nothing like the thriving settlement shown in Earth's records. Structures were damaged or destroyed. The once green parks were now barren dirt lots. Nancy activated her scanner, searching for human life signs. They were everywhere, in barracks-like buildings, in underground areas, in what appeared to be work camps at the edge of the settlement. She needed to find the resistance. According to intelligence reports, they had picked up a signal from someone named Eric Barnes. That was her best lead. Nancy's scanner detected unusual power usage coming from beneath a collapsed science building. Too small for craft-hull equipment, but consistent with human technology. She moved toward it, avoiding guard patrols. Inside the ruins, she found a hidden entrance to a tunnel system. A makeshift tripwire was connected to an alarm. Nancy carefully stepped over it and proceeded into the darkness. She heard voices ahead, human voices. Nancy switched off her stealth system's visual camouflage, but kept the sound dampening active. She didn't want to be mistaken for a threat. Rounding a corner, she came face to face with a man pointing a crude weapon at her chest. His eyes widened at the sight of her Earth military uniform. "Who are you?" he demanded, not lowering his weapon. "Lieutenant Nancy Clark, United Earth Forces," she replied quietly. "I'm looking for Eric Barnes." The man stared at her in disbelief. "You're from Earth. Prove it." Nancy slowly reached into a pocket and pulled out a small device. It projected the United Earth insignia. "I need to speak with your leaders. I don't have much time." The man, John Harris, though Nancy didn't know his name yet, lowered his weapon slightly. "Follow me. One wrong move and I'll shoot." He led her deeper into the tunnel system. They passed areas used as sleeping quarters, storage rooms, and what looked like a medical facility. Finally, they reached a larger chamber where several people huddled around a table. Kate Franklin looked up as they entered. Her face showed no emotion when she saw Nancy's uniform. "She says she's from Earth," John explained. Nancy stepped forward. "Lieutenant Nancy Clark, Advanced Scout for the United Earth Response Fleet. We received your distress call." The room fell silent. Then Eric Barnes pushed forward. "I knew it. I picked up your signal." "Hold. We're coming." "That was you." Nancy nodded. "An advance message from our fleet. I was sent ahead to make contact and gather intelligence." She looked at Kate. "The fleet will be here in 5 days. We need to prepare." Olivia Donovan crossed her arms. "Prepare how?" "There are 15 craft-hull ships in orbit and 3,000 troops on the ground. What kind of fleet could possibly handle that?" Nancy smiled slightly. "The biggest one humanity has ever assembled." 5 days passed quickly. The Resistance worked with Nancy Clark to prepare for the fleet's arrival. They mapped craft-hull positions, identified weapon emplacements, and planned coordinated strikes against key targets. Kate Franklin gathered her team leaders in the main tunnel. "Everyone knows their assignments. When the fleet arrives, we move immediately. No hesitation." John Harris nodded. My teams are ready. We take out the communication towers first, then the power stations. My people will handle the barracks, Olivia said. We'll keep the ground forces busy. Paul Martinez spread a map on the table. I've identified the weak points in their planetary defense system. If we can blind these 3 sensor arrays, their guns won't be able to lock onto our ships. Nancy checked her tactical display. The fleet should be arriving in the system within the hour. We need to get our people in position. Above them, Supreme Warlord Exerzov stood on the bridge of his command ship. He looked down at the colony with contempt. These humans had been more trouble than expected. Just yesterday, they had sabotaged a mining operation. 3 of his soldiers had died. Increase patrols in sectors 7 through 12, he ordered. I want the leaders of this resistance found and executed publicly. Yes, Warlord, his second-in-command replied. A junior officer approached nervously. Warlord, our long-range sensors detected an energy anomaly at the edge of the system. What kind of anomaly? Exerzov asked, barely interested. Unknown, sir. It disappeared before we could analyze it. Exerzov waved him away. Probably a solar flare or sensor malfunction. Focus on finding the rebels. The officer bowed and returned to his station. Moments later, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple ships detected. The sensor operator shouted. Hundreds of them, entering the system from multiple vectors. Impossible, Exerzov growled. He moved to the main display. What he saw made his blood run cold. Ships, human ships, more than he had ever seen in one place. They emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, spreading out to surround the planet and his fleet. How many? He demanded. Over 500 combat vessels detected, his officer reported, voice shaking. More still arriving. On the Defiance, Captain Lisa Morgan stood tall as her ship led the main battle group toward Helios 9. All ships report ready for combat, her first officer announced. Enemy vessels responding. They're moving to defensive positions. Lisa nodded. Open a channel to all frequencies, including colony ground communications. When the channel opened, she spoke clearly. This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the United Earth Defense Fleet to all Krothal forces. You have invaded a human colony and harmed our people. Surrender immediately or face the consequences. She paused, then added, to the people of Helios 9. Humanity stands united. You are not alone. The message echoed across every communication device in the colony. In the streets, colonists looked up at the sky, though they couldn't see the ships through the atmosphere. In the tunnels, Kate and her team heard the message over their radios. She locked eyes with Nancy, who nodded. That's our signal, Kate said. Move out. Throughout the colony, resistance fighters emerged from hiding places. They moved swiftly to their targets, using weapons Nancy had brought and others they had made themselves. John Harris led his team to the main communication tower. They overwhelmed the guards and planted explosives at the base. Fire in the hole, John called. Moments later, the tower collapsed in a shower of metal and sparks. Across the settlement, similar scenes played out. Power stations went dark. Sensor arrays exploded. Krothal soldiers found themselves under attack from all sides. In space, the battle began. Earth ships moved in precise formations, targeting Krothal vessels with concentrated fire. On the Defiance, Ryan Cooper directed the tactical operations. Focus on their command ship. All battle groups coordinate fire on my mark. William Young monitored the Thunderbolt weapon as it charged. Primary weapon at 90%. Ready to fire in 20 seconds. Above Helios 9, the greatest space battle in human history erupted in light and fire. The space above Helios 9 lit up with weapons fire. Krothal ships fought desperately against the overwhelming human fleet. Despite their surprise, the alien vessels were powerful, and several Earth ships were heavily damaged in the first exchange. On the Defiance, Captain Lisa Morgan held tight to her command chair as the ship shook from a direct hit. Shields at 60%, her officer reported. Enemy flagship is targeting us specifically. Lisa studied the tactical display. The Krathol command ship was moving to a position where it could fire on the Defiance while using two smaller vessels as shields. They're trying to separate us from the fleet, she realized. Helm, execute maneuver Delta 7. The Defiance rolled sharply, diving beneath the line of Krathol ships. Two Earth destroyers followed, providing covering fire. We have a clear shot at their flank, the weapons officer announced. Lisa nodded. All batteries, fire. The Defiance unleashed a devastating barrage that tore through the Krathol defensive line. One alien ship exploded, while two others drifted, disabled. On the planet's surface, the battle raged with equal intensity. Kate Franklin led a group of colonists toward the main settlement's control center. They moved from building to building, avoiding Krathol patrols. The central hub is 50 meters ahead, Kate whispered into her comm unit. Heavy guards at the entrance. Nancy Clark's voice crackled back. I count 8 guards. Wait for our distraction. Moments later, explosions erupted on the other side of the settlement. The guards at the control center turned toward the sound, and several ran to investigate. Now, Kate ordered. Her team rushed forward, firing at the remaining guards. In seconds, they had cleared the entrance and were inside the building. Paul, you know what to do, Kate said. Paul Martinez nodded grimly and moved to a control panel. He began working to override the colony's defense systems. This would be easier if Olivia was here, he muttered as he worked. She's busy, Kate replied, thinking of Olivia leading the assault on the Krathol barracks. Outside, John Harris and his fighters provided cover, keeping Krathol reinforcements from reaching the control center. The former Marine directed his people with calm efficiency despite the chaos around them. Hold this position, he ordered. No one gets through to Kate and Paul. In orbit, the battle reached a critical point. The Krathol fleet was surrounded but fighting fiercely. Their weapons were designed to cause maximum destruction, and several Earth ships had been lost. On the Defiance, William Young reported, Thunderbolt at full charge, Captain. Ready to fire. Lisa Morgan took a deep breath. The weapon had never been tested in actual combat. Target their command ship. Fire when ready. A blue-white beam shot from the Defiance, hitting the Krathol flagship directly. Instead of exploding, the alien vessel seemed to freeze in space. Its weapons went silent. Its engines stopped. Even its lights flickered and died. Direct hit, William shouted. Their systems are completely shut down. Throughout the Krathol fleet, confusion spread. Without commands from their flagship, their formation began to break down. All ships, Lisa ordered, target remaining vessels with conventional weapons. Disable, don't destroy if possible. The tide of battle turned decisively. Earth ships moved in, firing precisely at engine sections and weapon emplacements. In the control center, Paul finally broke through the Krathol security systems. I've got it, he exclaimed. Accessing planetary defense grid now. His fingers flew over the controls. One by one, the Krathol defense installations powered down. Sending the all clear to the fleet, Kate said, transmitting the signal Nancy had given them. Aboard the Defiance, Commander Peterson received the message. Captain, the ground team has disabled the planetary defenses. We're clear for landing operations. Lisa nodded. Launch all dropships. Get our Marines on the ground. Across the fleet, landing craft separated from their carrier ships. Hundreds of them descended toward Helios 9, carrying thousands of Earth's soldiers. Supreme Warlord Exerzoth watched in rage as his command ship drifted powerless. Get our systems back online, he roared. His officers worked frantically, but nothing responded. Warlord, his second-in-command, said hesitantly, human ships are landing all over the colony. Exerzoth's eyes narrowed. Prepare my personal transport. I will not be captured. Earth's drop ships landed across Helios 9. Marines poured out, their weapons ready. Leading the first wave, Commander Alan Peterson directed his forces with precise orders. Secure the northern quadrant. Find and protect the colonists. Watch for enemy traps. The Marines moved through the settlement with practiced efficiency. They outnumbered the Krath-Hull ground forces and had the element of surprise. Many alien soldiers surrendered when they realized their fleet had been defeated. In the medical center beneath the ruins, Samantha White heard the sounds of fighting grow closer. She had 20 injured colonists with her, too weak to move. When the door burst open, she stood protectively in front of her patients, a surgical tool clutched in her hand. A Marine stepped in, helmet visor up. "Doctor, we're here to help." Tears filled Samantha's eyes as more Marines entered, bringing medical supplies and stretchers. Across the settlement, similar scenes played out as Earth forces secured area after area. The resistance fighters joined them, guiding Marines to Krath-Hull strongholds and helping free imprisoned colonists. In the control center, Kate received reports from all sectors. The spaceport is secure. The mining complex is secure. The enemy barracks have been taken. Paul looked up from his console. But Exerzoth is missing. His personal transport launched 10 minutes ago. John Harris burst into the room, his face dirty from battle, but his eyes bright with victory. "The main square is under our control. The Krath-Hull are surrendering everywhere." Kate nodded. "What about Olivia?" "She's fine, leading the sweep of the eastern sector." Kate turned to a Marine communications officer. "Contact the Defiance. Tell them Exerzoth is trying to escape." In orbit, Captain Lisa Morgan received the message. "Track that transport," she ordered. "Do not let it leave the system." The Defiance's sensors quickly located the small craft attempting to hide behind Helios 9's moon. "Target locked," the weapons officer reported. "Disable it only," Lisa ordered. "We want him alive." A precisely aimed shot struck the transport's engines. The craft spun helplessly in space. "Send a recovery team," Lisa said. "Bring him to the Defiance." Hours later, as the sun set over Helios 9, the battle was over. Earth forces had secured the entire colony. Krath-Hull survivors were being processed as prisoners of war. Medical teams treated injured colonists and soldiers alike. In what had once been the colony's central plaza, now damaged but free, Commander Peterson met with Kate Franklin and her resistance leaders. They stood amid Earth Marines and tired but jubilant colonists. "On behalf of United Earth, I thank you for your courage," Peterson said formally. "Without your actions, this victory would not have been possible." Kate looked around at her people, at Paul, Olivia, John, Samantha, Eric, and so many others who had fought and survived. "We never gave up hope," she said simply. A shuttle landed nearby. Captain Lisa Morgan descended the ramp, followed by 2 Marines escorting the shackled Supreme Warlord Exerzoth. The alien commander's proud bearing was gone. He kept his eyes on the ground. Lisa approached Kate and saluted. "Administrator Franklin, your colony is secure." Kate returned the salute, then turned to face Exerzoth. "You said no one would come for us. You were wrong." The warlord finally looked up. "How? Your worlds are distant. Your people divided. How did you assemble such a force?" It was Commander Peterson who answered. "Because we are human. When one of us is threatened, all of us respond." In the days that followed, recovery began. Earth ships remained in orbit, a permanent defense fleet established to protect Helios 9. Engineers arrived to rebuild the colony. The damaged buildings would be replaced with stronger ones. Word of the battle spread throughout the galaxy. Other alien empires took note. Humans would cross vast distances and unite their forces to protect their own. The Krath-Hull Empire, facing the prospect of further conflict with Earth, withdrew from other human territories they had been planning to attack. 1 month after the battle, Kate Franklin stood on a hill overlooking the colony. The Earth fleet was still visible in the evening sky, lights twinkling like new stars. Admiral Russell, who had arrived to oversee the establishment of the permanent defense station, stood beside her. "Will you rebuild here?" he asked. Kate nodded. This is our home. We won't be driven from it. You won't stand alone again, Russell promised. Ever.